Tuned in, the signal's clear. Coming through Geocache Talk. A voice on the line I hear. Coming through Geocache Talk.
It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness.
Big thanks to Travel Bugs for our opening and our featured patrons, Tick Magnet, Logwork, Mikoput, TTO2, O0 Ridland Kids 00, Geocaching Adam, Master Sergeant USMC, Thumper G and TX Care Bear, Oil Bear 125, Gas Station Tuna, and our new patrons, Adi Olson, Autumn EB, Team Monroe's, and Jokerus. If you'd like to become a patron, click on the Become a Patron link on the front page. It's a little heart. Aw, isn't that cute? Patrons get the now famous blackout coin, which I don't have. I'm on the road. Susan,
gold one. I don't know. I'm liking this one lately, so I've been bringing this one out lately. Oops.
That's nice. I like
it. It's fun.
That was sweet. That was for the leaderboard.
It's one time when we get to do something special, and that's coming up again. But go ahead.
Yes. They get other geocaching items during the year, as well as bonus content and invites special events only for patrons. Support levels start at as little as Bison Tube level, which is $3 a month. If you happen to give Golden Ammo Can level, which is $10, then you get books and you get lots of extras, but that's just the way it goes for that. So let's jump right into show 214 as we discuss stealth required. But first, we have news. Lots of news tonight.
That's not even breaking news. You're just abusing it.
I'm doing news every week, regardless.
Breaking news every week, but you know what? We like the bumper anyway, so we'll do it.
Exactly.
It's too cool not to use.
Yes. Do you want to mention our sponsor for tonight?
We sure can. As a matter of fact, while I'm pulling up, they're still doing the promo code for this month, right?
Yeah, this is it. September. We're in it.
Just making sure. So the promo code is Geocache for Right in the Rain.
Yep.
And I was very happy to this is a real life example of how that worked out for us this weekend. We went after some lab cache this weekend, and we were doing the lab cache. Unfortunately, the lab cache is still in the separate, but it's okay.
Yeah.
You're out, so she's doing the lab cache, or I'm doing the lab cache app. She's doing the Cachely app.
Right.
So, fine. And we parked to this lab cache. So she pulls up the app, and there was an FTF 100 feet from where we parked. We didn't even know it was there. We just pulled in the park to do the lab caches.
Nice.
We found that one, and then we found another one. And sure enough, Right in the Rain log paper on it. I was so happy. I was like, I don't forget to put it in the log because it's clean, and it's not like that lumpy mess.
Right.
So,
exactly.
And then, Christy got me also. We went to do some maintenance on one of our caches this weekend. What's a trackable hotel.
Right.
There, and the log needed to be replaced. And she was like, seriously, you have a whole stack of Right in the Rain logs, and there's a little scrap of paper in this cache. But we're proud of this cache, too. And I was like, well, I can't say anything about that. I mean, it's really the gold standard for caching logs. And there's a huge difference when you use that in your cache and when you don't. They have them in all sizes.
Yes.
But Right in the Rain, obviously, it's great. Use it, if you want your logs to be good. And right now you can save, is it 30%?
30%, not 10.
Which, by the way, it's like getting it for free. They're not super expensive anyway.
No.
Not quality, so you might as well go get them while you can.
30% off. And if you parlay other coupons they have or or discounts that they currently have. You can sort of stack them up, and you can get 50% off sometimes. But this is the time to do it. We coaxed them into one more month of using the Geocache as the promo code. So definitely get out and get you, especially, holidays are coming up. You might want to be able to pick up some things for people. And there's a lot of cool products. You can buy, like I bought 8.5 by 11 paper and just made my own logs. So,
yeah. But they have so many different options and little for micros and for everything, right? But
right.
Here's what, Jinxer put this in the chat room.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because she doesn't live that far from where we are. And it's like the apocalypse here. Like, I didn't think 2020 could get any weirder.
Yeah.
It's literally raining ash. I had to say that slow because I was going to come out wrong. It's raining ash outside. It's on the cars. It's on the driveway. It's smoky. You can't even hardly breathe outside. I sound like right now I have a cold, but it's just from breathing all this smoke and stuff that's in the air. You can't see, more than half a mile down the horizon right now. It's pretty crazy, the fires that are here.
I think also it's actually getting up in the lower atmosphere, and I think we actually have ash coming all the way down into Texas. My son mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just horrifying.
Well, not even to complain about it here, but we have some firefighters that listen to the show, some first responders and stuff. So
yeah,
they're out there doing something that I would have no interest in, jumping into the middle of a fire out of a helicopter. So hopefully they're being safe out there.
Yeah.
There's out there right now trying to battle this, but and it's huge here in California. So hopefully all are being safe. But anyway, yes. So if I sound like I have a cold tonight, that's why.
Yeah,
it's burning outside.
Yeah, safety for all them, all the first responders and everybody.
Absolutely. I don't, I'm retired from law enforcement, but never, ever did I think, you know what, I'm going to jump out of a plane into some fire. Never did think that was going to be part of my life. And I'm not going to start now for sure, but I'm glad somebody else does it. So
absolutely. Somebody's mentioning I've been banished to the bedroom. Sort of. I've been banished to the bedroom of the hotel we're staying in since we have been on the road for the past few days, going out to Big Bend National Park, and we're sort of slowly making our way. It's a long drive, so we're sort of halfway back home. So we stopped. We're in San Angelo, so that's where we are right now, and so that's where we are at, and it's been a great trip so far. Getting out in the hills and getting out, walking some trails, and found a cache. Not the greatest at puzzles, but I'm getting better, Jesse. I'm getting better at this. Solved the puzzle. Didn't ask Tom for help, although Tom would have been there to probably help, or Charles. Figured it out. Love the fact that it had a checker, because I always love that, because never want to take a chance.
Yeah.
But I did figure it out and checked it, and it was good. Hadn't been found in quite a while. And it was out in the area near Alpine where we were staying. So I told Susan, I said, well, let's pop over to this cache before we head over into the park. And so we got there, and it's kind of in a weird place where you pull off, you go up, and it's like you're actually off the highway, but you're on this little parking area almost. And it was down the hill, so I had to be careful. Find me a way down the hill. I started searching in this big giant boulders, and I was like, oh no, I gotta find this thing. I mean, I went to all the trouble. I signed, I didn't sign. I solved the puzzle. I got all that way, and I'm like, oh, I gotta find this thing. So finally, yes, I found it and got the picture and signed the log. But it was a funny moment. Just the fact that I was just so thrilled to have, something like that. It had been found. Gosh, I think I told you earlier. Here's my picture of me signing. There I am down the. There's the big giant boulder. I'm down the hill.
You look a little happy to have found that one.
I was so thrilled. It had a metal thing holding it. That's why it looks kind of weird. But it is so satisfying to find that. Oh, in the log didn't have, but that's all that was on the log was just us. And did I sign that at that point? I hadn't signed the log yet, but that's what the log looked like, did it? No, I hadn't signed it yet. There's the people that had signed it before me. But the FTF on it was back in 2018.
Wow. That's not very many fines on that one.
No, there we go. Is it? Come on, you can focus. Oh well. So yeah, so the FTF was 9 of 18, and the last person to sign it, Grumpy Old Texan and P Panther, 10/26/19. So almost a full year. And that was so only 3 people, I guess, have signed it. But again, so satisfying to find something like that.
Almost as satisfying as when the last 2 people were DNFs. Almost as good as that. So
almost.
And you found cache by somebody we know too, didn't you?
Oh yes, I did. I can show you a picture of that too. So we're here again. We're out here in Alpine, and we took a look around. We had a few minutes before we were going to head to dinner, but I noticed that there was an earth cache, one of your favorites.
Oh yeah.
There was an earth cache nearby, and another one. So we're like, let's go over there, and I didn't know anything about it. So when we got over there, I started reading, and it was Carrot Killer and Lady Black Cat. So Adam and Leslie, patrons of ours and friends of ours, who had put this one together, and so that was fun to do an earth cache. It's always fun to find people. There we are with the optional photo of us. So,
well, it's fun to either when you're out in the wild, not near your hometown where you don't expect it, but to find even a log with somebody's name on it. But,
absolutely.
Even more fun when you just accidentally or just by chance come upon a cache hidden by somebody you know.
Yep, exactly. So that was fun to do, is to be able to. Oh, thank you, Curious KDB's like. Yep. So that was fun, and then we found it was like a rest area. So there was just a traditional there, which took us forever. Of course, Susan found it. She's always better at caching than I am. But we're at GZ. We've all done this, I'm sure. You're at GZ. You're like, where's the cache? What's going on here? And we're like, all right, let's start circling out, seeing what we could find. And Susan found it. It's like, it's right there. It's on the ground. It's like, that's not where it's supposed to be. And I did fix it because I know that it was not supposed to be on the ground, but right. I didn't move it too far. I moved it back. It was in a tree. It's supposed to be up in the tree, but anyway. Hopefully there won't be much. I know they've been working on this tree. It looks like they've been cutting some limbs, so hopefully the cache will be sticking around. I kind of put it back right where it was. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't try to fix anything too much. Just put it back in the tree.
I just take those and just throw them to the nearest bush. They're supposed to be right.
Right, close enough. Make it a little harder for the next person.
So I'm going to stop you before you mess up with the big announcement, because we can't make the big announcement yet. However, it does apply. So on the 22nd coming up,
yep,
we have the patron party.
Yes,
which we're going to have fun during the patron party, but we're also going to put people to work because we have something big that we can't talk about, and we're going to need patron help to do it. So we will discuss that, but we can't discuss it live on the air. But when we have the patron party, we'll talk about it. And this will be a big, fun thing that we can't talk about yet, unfortunately. Soon.
Yeah.
Everybody will know once we do, but
it's big. We've had.
So
what's funny is we've really got 2 gigantic things. One we've put off for a while just because of COVID. We feel like that we want we don't want to unveil that one until later. The one that we're currently keeping secret. We've had several meetings. If you think about it, we had a meeting last week about it with some other people.
See, you're going to go too far. Already. Let me save you. So we have two big things. We're going to talk to the patrons about it before we talk to anybody else about it.
Yeah, we'll let them know.
Party, we're going to have fun games, but we're also going to do that. Obviously, we're going to chat and be able to hang out off the air too, right? But the patron party, y'all will get to hear what's going on. We're not just teasing you and there's nothing going on. We just had to delay something. But there's two huge things. We're not going to even get at the dates right now because patrons get to hear it first. So that'll be a fun night anyway for us to hang out on the 22nd. That'll be a lot of fun. And then everybody gets to hear it after that. No, we're not letting Gary keep on talking because he'll ruin the surprise, which we're not allowed to yet. So
I'm not going to ruin it.
There's a lot. We don't want to ruin the surprise, not because we don't want to give it away, because there's a lot of work that's going into it, and there's a lot of people working on it. What date and time for the patron party? So it's September 22nd, 8 p.m. Central Time.
Yes. Yeah, let me put that in. Let me put a banner for that, and just so you can see that.
Again, we're going to talk about these big, huge projects, but we're also going to have some fun and play and do fun stuff too. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, patron party, September 22nd at 8 p.m. Central. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to our surprise. Pretty big. It's pretty big. So
huge. But it's always we always say that, but it always is, right? It's always bigger than the last time. But of course it's going to be because we're doing more big fun things.
I mean, and it's big, like international big. So it's open to everyone, or will be open.
Stop talking now, Gary. You're going to spill the beans, Gary. You have to stop talking. You're no good at sitting on a secret. You're really.
Well, I just want to let people know it's not just for patrons, but we're going to let the patrons know.
It's not for patrons. It's for everybody. Once we do it,
it's for everybody.
Patrons are going to be able to help us do it.
Right. Right.
But, it's also battery day for Tesla.
Tesla. Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, that day? Oh, okay.
Which I could talk 3 hours about Tesla, but we're not going to get off on that sidetrack because that's a different story.
That's for another show.
That's right. Oh,
I am going to spill the beans about something else.
Uh-oh.
We'll talk about more later, but I think we've got the date set for the 5th annual Podcast of Hope.
Oh, good.
December 6th. So mark your calendars for December 6th for the Podcast of Hope. That is, if people are not aware, that's 4 p.m. to midnight. It's an 8-hour podcast. And we raise money for St. Jude.
Right.
Children's Hospital, 4 p.m. to midnight, 8-hour podcast.
It is a long, fun time, but
it is. It is. It's wonderful.
That's one of my favorite things we do every single year. So
it is great. We've raised quite a bit. Last year we were going to raise 5, and I think we ended up raising 8. Or what did we raise last year? I can't remember.
Some more than we were just tickled pink at the amount we raised for St. Jude last year, and it's more than we set out to. I know. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
we'll have to go back and look. Yeah.
And we also need to mention we still need more blog entries. We really need more blog entries. Angie needs to help you get your story out there. There's no way that people don't have stories right now.
Yeah, you don't want us constantly writing the same thing over and over because that's not fun. Give us your stories. If you. In fact, Angie mentioned that she has one kind of in the works. Kind of, she has somebody who sent her information, and that's where we can just get started. So if you have sort of an idea and you need some help, Angie is there to help. Get you. Send us information. geocachetalk@gmail.com. We'll get you in touch with Angie, and she can help you solidify your blog, and we'll get that done. We really need those.
Create the story that you want out there.
Yeah. So see, Tom's got one already in the works. So
there you go. That's a story right there.
UDAC wants to write a blog about the surprise. Yeah, that's not. She's clever. She's very clever. She wants me to
That's right.
spill the beans, so that's her way of getting me to do that. So,
but you're not going to.
I'm not. I'm done.
You can mention upcoming shows before we jump into tonight's topic if you want to.
Yeah, let me mention the upcoming shows because then we can get into our topic for the night. So next week we have Randall H. Randy is going to be on the show. He's shows about kayaks, geocaching, and beyond. He's got some great stories to tell us, some information about multi-day kayaking trips, which sound incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Pony Express challenge. It's a even though we're not challenge talk, we do want to mention. He wants to mention some of that. He's got some other stories he wants to tell. Some trips that he's taken recently. It's going to be great. Randall H is going to be on the show. That's going to be a very interesting show. You don't want to miss that next Sunday. 2 weeks away, we're going to have back on the show our friend Doug McCrae. Doug, as many of you know, very avid geocacher, big challenge cache finder and hider, has traveled all over the world and geocache. So we always love hearing his stories, but he was also recently highlighted on the Netflix documentary High Score. Talks about it's an interesting Netflix series. It's like six shows, part documentary. Definitely worth watching. It's fascinating. Reveals the hidden or the forgotten heroes of video games. And it is a fascinating look at the history of video games, and Doug is on there. And anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk about he moved back to the Boston area, and talk about what he's been up to in this geocaching, and also being part of this Netflix series. And then 3 weeks from now, we're going to talk about virtuals, a little more virtual talk, and virtuals on every continent. It's a fascinating look at not necessarily we always kind of talk about virtuals, in our home country, but we're going to look at some information about virtuals in other continents as well. So that'll be fun. And that's that part. And I'm bringing the show notes back up. What else we got news-wise? We get started. I think that's it.
That's everything we're allowed to talk about now.
Yes, because my last note said, what did my last note say, or used to say, is more. There it is. More announcements soon, and that's it. Can't talk about it. The end of the notes, it says can't talk about it yet. So there you go. So I can't talk about it anymore.
We're going to completely switch and talk about our topic for the night, which is
stealth.
It seems like it's something simple to talk about, but also there's some very heated opinions on it.
There is.
And this will be one of those that I probably will not make some friends on, but it's okay. We all have our own opinions on stuff, so
that's good.
We have different opinions. It works out.
Yeah.
Talk about puzzle talk.
Talk about puzzle talk. Puzzle talk is tomorrow. Is Tuesday night.
Yeah. It's hard weekend. It's hard to get it straight.
Yeah. Let the games begin. It's a 2-part series about games and puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
So really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah, they're killing it on that show too. And it's nice because neither you or I are like super duper puzzle people. So it's nice when we get to go and learn something brand, you're years into the game. You're more years into the game than I am. And I learn something new every time. Even though they go over some of the basics too, I still learn something new every single time. So that's kind of cool. I always like learning something new.
Yeah, they do a great job. They've been working hard on these, getting prepared for these next 2 weeks. So looking forward to those shows. But yeah.
Well, we just had challenge talk last week.
Yeah. I hear that's going really well.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, I'm kind of slanted. I love challenges a lot, but I get to lurk in the chat room, so I got to hang out in the chat room. So
Yep.
I lurked in the chat room. I wasn't on the show, but it was I love it every time. So
Yeah, Emily and Jeff are doing a great job. So kudos to them. And yeah, Jinxer says she's been loving Challenge Talk. Yeah, giving away prizes. They're doing a lot of cool stuff on that. That's neat that they're doing that, and it's another great show to watch. So all right, let's get into stealth mode.
Stealth mode. That's right.
All stealth required. Talk to me about stealth. I did. I've got several comments. I found a lot of these comments are a lot of these are Facebook mentions. I don't mention the people because I don't want to do anything like that. But I do have some different things that I've found about stealth. So I'm going to ask you about them and we'll discuss them. So this started with somebody who asked the question. They said that they'd watched a geocaching video, which didn't help me much. How am I supposed to look around without drawing people's attention? How do you do it? This person was caching in Chicago, doing mostly urban finds. How do I lift a skirt without being stealthy? How do I look through abandoned newspaper stands? Because there's a lot of those in urban places where they put the cache inside a abandoned that or telephone booth, those kind of places. People in big cities rarely pay attention to anything that doesn't concern them. That's one of the comments. You'd be surprised how few people actually care what you're doing. Do you think that's true? Is that a true statement, Jesse?
Yes and no. It all depends.
Yeah.
This is one of those. It's one of those it depends questions. And we're going to get more into it, but I think it depends on who you are, where you are,
right,
and what kind of cache it is, how long it's going to take. There's so many factors that go into it. I know we're going to talk about all of them, but it also depends on your opinion of whether you should be stealthy or not.
Yeah, well, which we'll get into.
Yeah. So that's one of those that it's like if somebody came up to you at an event or wherever you're out in public and they said, "What's your opinion on stealth?" It would take you a long time to answer that question.
Yeah, like you said, it depends on the situation, really. This first situation I'm putting you in is downtown Denver or downtown Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
In that situation, do you think that people care what you're doing, or do you think people do kind of watch other people? Are they people watching at that point?
So right now is not a good example, right? Because there's riots going on in several of our major cities.
Right now is a tough time.
Get back to a normal time before the world stopped. And I would say there's a line, right? So let's say it's one of those newspaper ones,
Yeah.
And I'm different day to day. I really am with this. So now, and I'll try to be stealthy, but Christy and I cache together a lot, right? And she does not care about being stealthy. She's like, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that. So she doesn't even like pretend that she's gonna be stealthy at all. She's like, it shouldn't be there if nobody can. But if it's crowded, the reason why I'm stealthy is because I don't want to get it muggled, right? But at some point, trying to spend too much time being stealthy draws more attention to yourself.
Right.
So, if now also at the same time, there are some places in downtown where if I go down there and I want to find a cache and there's people all around and there's no way I can be stealthy, I'll just skip it and come back some other time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless it's some really special cache, it's just another smiley. I'll just move on. There's other caches everywhere, right? People use the thing saying that it's an urban cache. Well, if it's an urban cache, that means there's tons of other urban caches around too. So it's probably not that.
Probably true. Yeah. There's some good comments. If you like, I like what Tom put first is if you act like you should be there, it takes care of it. Yes, I agree. I think that and that's something that was mentioned several times, which is if you walk up to whatever you're doing and you act like you don't look around and act kind of hesitant. And if you give all that away, if you do all that, people will sort of notice that you're being that way.
Right.
If you walk up like you own the place, whatever it happens to be, I think people tend to ignore it if they see you doing that.
And that's really my approach most of the time. When we're talking about just in general, right? I know we're going to talk about some details later, but that's generally what I do. I'll just walk up without hesitation and grab it a lot of times. But
like Adam said, just go in like a bull in a china shop. Haven't had any serious issues yet.
and sometimes that's just the best approach. Just walk up, and in that case, if you're not like standing around and looking and doing all this other stuff, people don't pay attention. They don't care. People do not care what's going on in general, unless you look particularly suspicious or overly nervous. People generally don't care what's going on.
Right.
In an urban setting, depending on where you are, right? Like, not behind a bank. It's not 10 o'clock at night, not in those weird situations. But depending on where you are, just a park bench downtown, people generally don't care.
Yeah. Butterfly Girl says that I was trying to get a nano on a bench once. My muggle mom asked a man who was sitting on the bench to move. Her daughter needed to get one of those crazy geocache things.
And sometimes that's just what you got to do.
Yes.
You should have your mom with you all the time, though. It sounds like she's an awesome partner for caching.
Absolutely. Direwolf, you have to own it. Clothes I wear when caching lead people to believe that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I found it helps to wear clothes.
Yeah, good. Yeah, wear clothes. That's our first tip. Owen mentions this. This came up in the comments too. Orange hat, orange vest, orange cones. No one will see you. Yeah, that was mentioned. I don't know. Do you think that gets people though going, what's this guy up to? I mean,
yeah. So I will tell you that I think that is great camouflage.
Do you? Okay.
I think it's great. A clipboard and a hard hat or a vest, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care at all. As a matter of fact, there's a guy that caches here in Colorado, and he's an older retired guy, right? Great guy. Had some good caches too.
Right.
He has a little white pickup truck that he drives around in his personal vehicle, but on the side of the truck, he's got an orange light, and on the side of the truck, he's got a sticker that looks like a business sticker.
Right.
Actually, if you look at it close, it says Cache Retrieval Company.
Cache.
All this stuff. And he pulls up all the time, and he looks like a guy that would be an engineer or something like that would just he could walk right into he could walk. Excuse me, sir. He could walk right past people, and he could find a cache, and nobody would say anything. And I've seen pictures where they're out, and they'll take two of them, and they'll have vests and hard hats and everything else. And
wow,
you do that, and you're committed to it. You're never going to get questioned.
You got to be committed, though. You can't look like you're just sort of
commitment there. And now it's like a little magnet sticker on the side, but that's great.
That is awesome.
You could pull up anywhere, put your flashers on, and I don't think anybody would ever say anything.
That's great.
Now, most people don't, but you got to look like you know what you're doing, right? You can't put a vest and a clipboard on and be wandering around. You got to be committed to it.
Yeah, that's the key too, because Adam's saying kind of I've been there too, which is he says he sucks at stealth. I'm certain I look suspicious. You can't. That's the thing I've had to do too, is you can't think about that. You got to just act like you're supposed to be there. Just act like what you're doing is exactly what's supposed to be done at that moment. And so,
it does depend on the person too, right?
Yeah, it does.
If you're like 6'6" and a scary looking dude, you're probably going to draw attention no matter where you go, right?
Right.
It depends on who you are, where you are. If you're, dressed in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and you're in the middle of New York City, you stand out a little bit, right? I don't know. So it kind of depends.
It's very, yeah. Okay, so let me ask you some more things here. It says, let's go through. People in big cities rarely pay attention to anything that doesn't concern them. You'd be surprised how few people actually care. Use a clipboard. Finding caches with someone makes you look less obvious, or maybe I just feel less obvious is one comment. I cache with my kid. No one thinks twice about it. That's the thing that was a theme throughout was kids and dogs.
Oh, yeah.
If you got a kid or a dog, you're in great shape because
it's a younger kid though, right? Like
Yeah.
youngest daughter is almost 14 now, so she's kind of all she's my height, so she barely looks like a kid anymore.
Right.
It doesn't work as good as when she was a little bitty and just a little bitty redheaded curly girl, curly red running around. Nobody even pays attention to you at that point. It's a dad and daughter. Nobody pays attention. But now she's like half grown up, so she's not as good at camouflage anymore. She's falling down on the job. But yeah, a kid, you're golden.
You're golden.
Yeah.
Make them go lift the skirt, which we have in the U.S. I saw that we have some Aussies in the house. We're so glad to have our Aussies. So Craig is there. High vis vest and clipboard actually hides you more than camo clothes. So isn't that funny?
Clothes doesn't give the right impression here. So
right. That was kids and pets was a big one.
John uses his dog, which is perfect.
Yeah, dogs are great.
Says acts like it's going to potty every time. Yeah, that is perfect. You can bend down, do anything you want to. Nobody's paying attention, especially if you have dog poo, like bags in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch you pick up dog poo, so you could do whatever you want. A dog is a good cover if you have one.
Yep, bring the good puppy dog. So this is an interesting one. We'll change gears a little bit. So we're out of the city a little bit, and we're in the burbs. So in the burbs in the U.S., you might find an LPC, lamppost skirt, lamppost cache. This is the comment says, I often use my car to help block for lamppost lifting. I also very often use my handheld phone, pretending I'm making a phone call very near GZ. No one ever gives me a second look. So they use the combination of the car blocking the view of the LPC, but also they got their phone out. So what do you think of those two items?
So now it's truth time. Do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
you're not telling the truth. You just pull right up and open it. I do too. And most of the people in the chat room do too. That's a nice answer. But if it's an LPC, it's an LPC, right?
It is, right. There's not much you can really do.
99% of them, they're not even supposed to be there anyway because nobody got permission from Walmart to put it there. That's not public property.
That's coming up, right?
Take it and go. Yeah, come on. I'm not spending a lot of time being stealthy with the lamp skirt.
Should we be fixing lamppost skirts? Should we be making them? I don't think you can. Jinxer, I don't think a can of WD-40 is going to fix most of that. Although I have seen a friend of mine, his trick was he could lift the lamppost skirt and turn it a little bit, and when he let it down, it wouldn't go all the way down, so that he could fix it all, put it all back, and then he could put it. So he'd have to lift it twice.
Here's the thing: I'm not going to go and start working on somebody's lamppost and have like a worker go, "Why are you spraying stuff on this lamppost?" Come out, like
that would be funny though to get out your WD-40 and try to be fixing the lamppost.
There's probably nobody there that has permission to do any of those things. So I'm not messing with that. I'm just gonna get it and go.
I feel like I'm part of a secret drug ring with lamppost skirts. I do too.
Yeah, I have one of my few LEO encounters was related to that. Lamp skirt, but I actually got called on by a homeless person or somebody in the parking lot that thought I was harassing homeless people.
Wow.
Yeah, but whatever.
Now, what do you think of the phone dodge?
Yeah, I'll do that, and
I like the phone idea.
I'll do the like other people use it to take pictures, make it look like you're taking pictures. I'll do that too.
Yeah.
And I'll use the phone, not really like I'm on it as much because I think that looks too suspicious for me. But taking pictures, I'll do that all the time. Because nobody cares. People take pictures all the time. That only really works if there's something to take pictures of.
Yeah, but you're surprised.
It works a lot better if you're standing in front of Walmart. Nobody, although people at Walmart, this is a whole different story. But
people at Walmart, yeah. That's exactly.
In an urban setting, taking a photo, unless it's something spectacular, it's kind of odd, but I don't think people really care. If you're taking a photo, they don't care what you're doing because people are constantly on social media and doing selfies and everything now, so they just think it's normal. So it's probably a pretty good cover.
Yeah, that's a pretty good cover because people they don't. I mean, they assume you're taking. I mean, people take pictures, like you said, of everything. They probably think you're taking a picture of the lamppost skirt because that's just what you do.
Yeah.
And they don't care because that's your thing. So,
Well, the truth is, depending on the location, most people do not care what you're doing.
I
They
I
really don't.
I tend to agree. I have noticed though that there is the occasional person that even if I'm not even looking for a cache, I'm just sitting somewhere for a minute. I look over and you're like, why is the person staring at me?
Yeah.
You're looking around like, what am I? Check
There
the
are some
fly and everything.
people out there, but
You're like, what? Why are you staring at me? What am I doing? Am I?
now, I'm one of those people that probably makes people uncomfortable too because I'm always watching everybody around.
Right.
I'm not trying to catch anybody geocaching. It's just because that's some people are just like that, right? Just hyper alert. So
But I guess so. I know that. Yeah, we will tend to people watch. Susan and I, kind of nudge her and go, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" She's
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course I saw that. How am I going to not see that? So there's times when they get that kind of thing going. But
no.
Okay, so another comment. Somebody mentioned, of course, the glad that live in the woods. Yeah, okay, I understand. You don't have to be stealthy on that. Although this is interesting. Before the show, Jesse did some sleuthing of his own on stealth required. So tell everybody what you found as far as stealth required statistics with Jesse.
So it was about, out of all the caches that are out there, it's about 500 something thousand have stealth required out of the 3 million caches that are out there.
Wow, that's a lot.
Pretty interesting. But what I thought was even more interesting, and we haven't thought through this yet, but there are, let me make sure I pull up the right number here.
Mm-hmm.
So earth caches with stealth required, there's over 400.
400.
I can't even think of a situation where you would need stealth required on an earth cache, but apparently some people feel you do. I haven't had time to dig into that yet, but I'm really curious, and that's something I'm going to do right after the show. And I may go put them on mine now just because I think it's funny.
I can wrap my brain around that for a minute. Now, why would you be trying to find geoscience information stealthily?
It's not like somebody's going to steal the mountain, so I don't really know. Like, oh, here's one. Let's see.
Tony's right.
It's like, on it.
Go ahead.
This is an interesting one too. It's got stealth required, not recommended for kids, although it's a 1.5. Huh. I don't know what you'd be hiding from.
What are you hiding? What is it that you're?
It's right off a road. I don't know. That's something I have to. I mean,
does require a weird picture.
Standing on the side of the roadway, looking at and there's no that there's not even a picture required in that one. So I don't know. That's something we're going to investigate after this. Maybe somebody has a good idea. Perhaps disturb the wildlife.
Oh, okay. I can kind of maybe see that they want you.
You have to be sneaky to do that. Just don't like yell and scream.
Yeah,
that's the best idea I've seen so far. I don't know why that would have that.
I like how Jinxer says that hiking caches can require stealth, and then Adam
absolutely.
Adam said it was deep in the woods. Still had people coming up asking me need help.
Yeah. So in general, if you're hiking and you have a cache out on the mountain somewhere, if it's really far out, you're probably good. But in most places in Colorado, if you're in places that people access frequently, you still have to be stealthy.
Right. Does I want to wake the bear or a gator? Maybe that's why you want to be stealthy. Pizza Ninjas area 51.
That's a out of earth cache.
Yeah. So 500,000 caches that need stealth. Okay.
But let's be honest. Do you think?
No.
Oh, here we go. Okay, this is the best one I've seen. Oh, look who it is. It's Susan. An earth cache in a cemetery might require stealth. Absolutely would.
There you go.
Being polite too.
Perfect.
Not that you're worried about the cache being stolen. It's just like, hey, respect where you are. So I've got to get that.
There's a good reason to have stealth required. I like that. That's smart. Okay, so let me ask you then about just see I do a lot of this person said I do a lot of urban caching while running. Stopping to stretch in running gear is a great way to check out your surroundings and no one will pay any attention because you're kind of already you're in a I wouldn't call it a costume, but you've got the look that you're doing something. In this case, you're
Yeah.
running.
You're
So
doing a different activity, so it's
you're doing activity that people know about, are familiar with. They assume a lot. They
yeah.
assume you're just if you stop and are stretching, they're like he or she is a runner, and that's the way it goes. So yeah, that's a good way to do it. Um,
Here's a good question. I just brought it up because it's not really related to what we're doing, but is there
yeah.
such a thing as a nighttime only Earth cache?
Oh, can
I
you do
honestly
that?
don't know, but I would suspect there's got to be something out there like that. If anybody knows, let us know because that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool concept.
I wonder if you could do now. There's certain fluorescent rocks,
Yeah, maybe you can only see them at night, or
or yeah, you need UV light to see certain rocks because of their phosphorescence.
you got me. Don't get me lying. I have no idea.
I don't know either. I'm just throwing it out there.
Maybe there is. Hopefully, somebody can find it and let us know. That would be a pretty cool topic. We haven't actually talked about night caches in a
No,
long time. We may need to do that.
we'll have to do that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there you go. Tony's helping me out there. The Bioluminescent Bay in Puerto Rico. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that would be an interesting
Topic for another show, though, for sure.
night cache. Yeah, absolutely.
As is this one. NJD asked the question, what is the best geocache you guys ever found? I'll let the chat room run on that one, but we could talk about that for a whole show. I think we have actually talked about that on a previous show.
Yeah, that is good.
The short answer is the next one.
The next one. Yeah, whichever one I haven't found yet that's coming up. That's the next best one. Marcellus is in the house. Thank you, my friend. Astronomy-based Earth cache can be a thing. Sign me up. I agree, man.
Oh my gosh. The only thing I could imagine me being worse at than Earth caches is astronomy caches.
Cache.
Let's hope they catch on. I'll be just hosed.
I love it though. I love the idea. I love it. Yeah, because we had on Dr. Beagle talking about from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory talking about a lot of meteorites. If you're down in the Antarctic, they stand out because it's white. Everything's white, and you have some meteorites hit the ground. They can find them a little bit easier.
Uh-huh.
So, is that Earth cache because it's part of the Earth now? That it's even though it's outer space.
We'd have to look that up, but there's specific rules on what they'll accept.
Yeah.
It actually has a lot more rules than you would think.
Yeah, there are a lot. I'm trying to get one done, and we're going to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Cross my fingers because I've never really been very good at getting a lot of that stuff done. So
a few more submitted myself.
Yeah. Okay, so some other comments people have made. When I find GZ, if it's an open area, I will make it look like I'm looking at my phone. I find most people are concerned about what is going on in their lives, really don't pay attention. Don't glance around with a guilty look on your face. Just go about your business, and they probably won't say anything. If they do, this is we're kind of getting into this. I guess this is a good point to get into this, which is what if they do happen to ask you?
Well, I think there's a couple things that he said there that are interesting, or he or she. I don't know who wrote the comment.
Yeah.
One, if you have your phone out, most of the time people just assume you're playing on your phone because in general, if you go out anywhere to a restaurant or to outside, at least 75% of the people outside are zombies on their phones. So it's normal to see people just wandering around on their phone a lot of times. But if somebody actually does.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. 228 Earth caches.
Sadly,
recommended it.
Making me think we're going to have to do some research about some interesting Earth caches. And that hurts my soul to say that. But night caches and stealth required, we're gonna have to dig into that for sure.
Dig into that. So apparently 228 earth caches, you're supposed to do at night.
I'm obviously gonna have to find out what that means and make one of those because sounds like a challenge to me. So
that does. He says the most of them are in Europe. So,
and now this kind of a sidetrack, but if you're in that situation and somebody does ask, "What are you doing?" Do you have a standard prepared line?
yeah, I mean, I do. I usually mention scavenger hunt. Now, if I feel like that the situation might warrant itself to have a longer conversation, I will just talk about what geocaching is. Depends on the situation. If it looks like, again, am I going to be there very long, or if I want to get, if I got, my part of the, this is a Motley Caching crew, and we want to get on down the road.
Right.
I'll say scavenger hunt, because if you say scavenger hunt, people go, "Oh, I know what you're talking about."
Yeah. People generally don't care. They rarely ever ask past that.
No, they don't.
However, what if they say, "Really? Can you tell me more about it?"
Yeah, that I'll get into.
What do you do then?
I'll get into geocaching. I'll talk about how, what is geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like Direwolf says, it is. I can mention scavenger hunt's a good launching point for the discussion.
It is.
But usually they'll ask, "Well, what do you find in geocaches?" And I always tell them, a logbook and a piece of, and a McDonaldland toy was the old thing you used to say. Oh yeah, that's cool. Hugh has
geocaching business cards. Yeah, that's
really cool. I usually tell them that there's no treasure. The treasure is the hunt is the treasure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people scratch their head on that.
So my answer kind of ties into it too, and I think you've been with me when I've done this too. But
yeah.
So if somebody approaches me about it, and kind of like part of the stealth thing, I'll say scavenger hunt. If they seem interested, I've actually had somebody say like geocaching, and I'm like, well, it's exactly like geocaching.
Exactly, that's what I'm doing.
Based on their, gauging their level of interest. If somebody is interested in geocaching and they want to ask about it, I'll never walk away from that situation.
Yeah,
I'm never going to be like, I don't have time, because that they may be somebody that's going to get to the game, and I want to be the last person that makes them feel uncomfortable in the game, right? And I'll always find the other geocache that I need that day. I'm not worried about that. But if you can bring somebody in a good way and tell them about it, at least if nothing else, they're not going to damage that cache.
Right.
Because you're leaving an area and they've kind of already seen you, right? So plus that's, people were so nice to me in the beginning. I'm always going to return that favor. I'm always going to, because you're there, you're doing it, you get people excited about it. Now, where it kind of ties into this discussion is, and I think we've been together when this has happened, but if I'm like in a park and I'm going to go and somebody's near GZ, if it's just a person or grown-ups, so to speak, I don't care that much unless I'm super close to them. But if it's anybody and they're around kids, I'll generally tell, but this is because I'm a dad, right? But I'll generally tell them like, hey, I'll mention to them, even if I'm like 50 feet away, hey, we're going over here, we're doing a scavenger hunt. So just so they don't feel creeped out and weird by it or whatever.
Right.
Right. So just so they know, because there's kids around and, people should feel comfortable when you're doing stuff. But if it's just adults, I generally don't care as much because they can go do their own thing.
Yeah.
Have kids around, I'm going to make sure they know I'm not doing anything weird over by that kind of tree,
No, that's good.
But that's kind of tied into that stealth thing. So it ruins my whole stealth. But at the same time, it also gives you better coverage because people know what you're doing. So you don't have to like, are they watching me? Because they are at that point. Or they absolutely don't care. But and I've had them say, oh, is that, what is that? And I'll tell them at that point. But if they're just like, okay, dude, that's great, but go be a nerd over there.
Yeah.
Like, cool, I do my thing. So, but that's, you got to play it by ear, right? Depending on what the situation is.
Right. I love Marcellus's comment. Thank you, my friend. That was a good one. The treasure is the friendship we found along the way.
Is that a quote from Treasure?
The treasure is the friendships we found. I don't know. I think
that almost sounds like a quote from the movie Treasure.
I think Marcellus is just waxing poetically tonight.
That's right. Stealth in plain sight. That is really the best one.
Stealth in plain sight. Yep, that's good.
That's
very good, Tony.
That's if somebody asks, I'm not going to try to be suspicious, like nothing or anything like that. I think the best approach is just to be honest. Scavenger hunt. See if they're interested in more, and if not, just go about your day.
Right. No, that is good. Yeah, Peace and Ninja. No, it's not like Fight Club. You don't you can tell people about it. You don't have to. Um, so Ryan says that actually there's only 11 that are considered true night caches that have the night cache attribute, and 2 in the U.S. We'll have to check those out. That's interesting. So.
And there's some ideas for some Earth caches. Somebody go steal that. There you go.
Yep, that's excellent. Yep.
So I would say I will give them a real answer from there.
So a couple other items here. This one was funny. I again found this was a comment. It says, "Turn off the mental playlist that has the Pink Panther or Peter Gunn's soundtracks playing in your head. You don't need that because you're just going to make things bad. Stop thinking that it's a Mission Impossible task, and walk up like you aren't doing anything wrong, and find the cache because you are not doing anything wrong."
Right.
But that does come down to another comment that I had read that I want to get your thoughts on, which is this: stealth required typically means there shouldn't be a cache there.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Right.
For many reasons. But now, if somebody is putting stealth required because they put a cache on a park bench in front of Target and just that's their way of getting permission, like, well, they shouldn't find it. I don't have permission, but no, but they should be sneaky. No, that's not how it's supposed to be.
That's how it works.
The rules are get permission, blah, blah, blah. But even with permission, so let's say you go through all the things you're supposed to do, hide a great cache, get permission from the owner, you have a legal right to be there, as far as they go.
Yeah.
There's still other people that are not in the game. So stealth is still necessary. There's going to be other people because they may steal the trackables inside it, everything else. So stealth is required not for people in the game, but for people outside of the game. I've had a cache that got discovered by some people. It was off a trail. It was in a place that I legally had the right to have a cache there.
Yeah.
Talk to the city park and everything else.
Right.
Kids found it because they noticed, and they even found it because of that. They saw somebody else going after it.
Yep. Yep.
Excuse me, I'm sneezing from this smoke is killing me.
Yep.
But and they luckily they tore the cache up, but luckily they didn't take the trackables inside it.
Oh wow.
They just didn't realize they could have hurt somebody's feelings by doing it.
Yeah.
They destroyed and vandalized the log with some funny yet inappropriate comments and pictures. But they didn't take the trackable, so I was very lucky about that. They didn't take the ammo can that I hand painted, so I'm also very lucky about that. But stealth is required on that one because it's a city park with permission to be there. But if you're not sneaky about it, then somebody else is going to see what you're doing. So
yeah,
absolutely disagree with that comment. I see what they're saying. Like, don't stick it somewhere where you're not supposed to be and assume stealth is okay.
Yeah.
Stealth is not a replacement for permission.
Right. No, you're right. There's times when, there you go, the perfect example. There's plenty of times when stealth is required and the cache is appropriately placed. So I don't agree with that.
Stealth can be fun in those situations, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's that you can't assume that blanket statement does not fly.
No. I might kind of see what they were saying with it, but I disagree. And sometimes the stealth part is fun.
Yes.
You don't go overboard with it, but sometimes it's neat that you're doing something that other people don't realize you're doing. You're out in public and you're finding a cache and you're trying to be sneaky and stuff and sign the log, and that's a fun thing to do. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, and then sort of a final topic or subtopic tonight for our stealth required while geocaching show tonight, and that is kind of what you said. It's the Christie method, which is, I don't care about stealth. I'm just going to do it anyway.
She has her own opinion on it. 100%.
Yeah. Well, the comment was, I really don't care about stealth. I've given many a geocaching 101 class to muggles. So I guess that there's something to be said for the just don't care. And if somebody says something, just wave and move on, or if they ask questions, you just answer their questions.
Well, I'd say that in most situations,
Yeah.
it's not going to matter that much. In a lot of urban caches and stuff like that, it really doesn't matter. People don't care.
Yeah.
However, like in a situation where if you're going to a trackable hotel and it needs to be stealthy so people don't steal trackables out of it or whatever else, if a cache gets vandalized, that's not the end of the world.
Right.
That happens all the time, right? I mean, it's a bummer, and you don't want it to happen because of your actions, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world either, but what is more of a disappointment is, like, if you got a cache discovered by muggles and they stole everybody's trackables out of it, or ruined the property, or did something else like that, that's much more of a disappointment if you got somebody's trackables lost. They go missing anyway by cachers, right? But you don't want somebody to break into a cache or do something like that because you didn't want to be stealthy. Now,
Adam says that's the Dimshar method too.
Yeah.
Just go do it.
And Christy does say, like, she'll say, like, I'm not going to be stealthy. If I have to be that stealthy, I don't want to do it. I'll go to a different cache.
Right.
I don't have to feel, she says she don't want to feel creepy trying to do it. So I get that. Everybody's got their own opinion of it,
Owen had one that's interesting. Difficulty to be stealthy with your hands up the backside of a bull statue. True, but if you think about it, even if you didn't know about, well, it's hard to not know about geocaching since you know about geocaching. But if you see somebody doing that, you assume hopefully there's somebody else there that can take a photo. That's the thing. You need somebody else there to fake photo you doing it, because then they're like, okay, they're just trying to be goofballs and they're just trying to take a photo. My age. Goofballs, is that still a thing to say?
Absolutely. And here's the but somebody else mentions, if you're in the middle of a park with a ladder to get to drive, people are going to see you, right? So in that situation, you can't be super stealthy. You just need to go about your business, get it done, and be finished, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing too with that.
Like I said, I'll be done in a few minutes to be out of there.
Here's the thing with that. So let's say let's think of the other side. You're a cache owner.
Yep.
And you hide something on a park bench or in front of Target or something where somebody's going to climb a tree or use a ladder in the middle of a park.
Yeah.
When you hide that there, people can't be ultimately stealthy with it, right? They can't wait till nobody's in the park.
Right.
Some parks are never like that whenever they're open.
Yeah.
So if you're super worried about stealth, maybe that is something that you need to consider, right?
Absolutely.
Not that it's a bad location, but you're going to eventually draw attention to yourself. So maybe that's not the place to put a trackable hotel.
Right.
Or maybe that's not the place to put, if you have a super stealthy area, even with permission, maybe that's not the place to put the most complicated puzzle cache, gadget cache you can ever come up with, right?
Exactly.
It's like an hour to do.
Yeah.
You can't be stealthy standing at the back of a building for an hour. That's just not right. So there has to be some on both sides, the cache owner and the cache hider, right?
No, that is a great point, because I think too often, well, I would say young cachers, but I think it could be any experience level. But I think many times this is good knowledge to gather if you're new at hiding caches, and that is, you went there and you placed a cache and you're like, oh, this is perfect. The thing is that you know where it is.
Right.
You have to somehow you got to take yourself out of that, get your brain wrapped around the idea of the fact that you don't know where it is. Okay. Can people search that spot without causing a lot of issue?
Pizza Ninja said, dress like an off-duty mime and you will be golden. I love it. Well, think about it. Dress like something that people don't want to interact with, whether it's a salesman, a mime, or anybody that's up in your face and that people don't want to deal with.
Do you have to start to do the mime stuff with the fake?
I would think so, yeah. Just remember to not mime the signature, right? You got to do that for real.
Right.
But so both sides of that. The stealth question really comes down to both sides.
Police officer.
Police officer. Yeah, don't fake that.
No.
There's rules against that. Don't do that.
I think that's against the law.
But both sides of that. When you're a cacher and when you're a cache owner, you need to think about the stealth aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Think about what kind of situation that's going to cause, right?
Yeah. That's why I always tell people too. This came up in a geocaching, the Geocache 101 Facebook group, when that is somebody had not found 100 caches yet. And they're like, well, I've been told that I'm not supposed to hide anything unless I've found 100. And several people said, don't worry about that. Just go for it. And my comment was, go for it. But you got to think about, can people search that location without either causing landscaping damage or, because again, you got to think about the fact that you don't know where it is. And
right.
Maybe you're not the fastest at finding a cache. You're new at this. Can they adequately stand there and search for 15, 20 minutes without A, causing the police to be called, or B, causing a bunch of damage because they're going through electrical box, ripping it up and pulling stuff out of it, trying to figure out where the cache is.
Yeah. Think about the location because, I think I mentioned on the show before, or at least we've talked about it off the air, but one of the FTFs I went for early on was at night and we were excited about FTFs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it technically wasn't on bank property, but it was essentially right behind a bank at night.
Right.
We pulled up and Christy was with me then. And I think one of the kids was with me. It was years ago. And we were immediately like, this is not a good plan.
Right.
We left. We put a note on the cache page and go, I would not get this tonight. This is probably a bad idea. I don't know if you realize how close you were to a bank at the time.
Yeah.
Kind of a shopping center, but you would absolutely be looking around behind a bank in the dark. And, that's just not going to be a good plan.
Right.
So you need to think about that when you're hiding that cache. If it's something that let's say this person did everything else right and you have permission and it's an adjacent property to a bank, make sure that put on that cache and don't go for this at night. This could be weird, right? Go for it during the daytime and we have permission. This person says this. Don't go past this property line because then you're, think about that. What location are you bringing people to?
Always smart.
Yeah. Because you don't want somebody getting arrested because of your, you didn't really plan for that cache very well. Maybe you do. I don't know, but I wouldn't.
Yeah. Because that gets in the whole situation that you got to be part of, which was, hey, we think there's a bomb here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that phone call. Yes, I did. Mine didn't make it to the paper, so thankfully, but mine actually wasn't a bomb though. Mine was there was body parts. I was making a multi-cache that had to do with a person, a crime thing, a murder type thing, and one of them was a trunk with body parts in it. And people didn't find that amusing as I did.
They didn't find that as right.
Chained to a tree in a ditch. And blood on it and stuff. And, not the best plan. Stealth wasn't an issue, but common sense was, and I didn't use it for that one.
You had the one where you were working and you heard about.
Yeah. But that was not my cache. I did get called by the bomb squad, but it was because they knew I knew about geocaching and I got to go out there and that was one of those silly type things.
Yeah, Ryan's been part of that, involved with the bomb phone call. In all places in, I think it was Colby, one of Adi Olson's was placed there with permission and everything. But other people, that's the thing. You're always going to have situations that occur where even if you get permission, there's not always that person to be around to tell others what's going on. You hope everybody's been informed, but those things happen. But
how many of your geocaches actually have "this is a geocache" written on
it? Almost none. You know what I did buy just the other day was I got a stencil. Yeah. So I'm going to use that more often because the stickers I have some that have the stickers on them. I need to get more stickers, or I bought the stencil. So I'm going to spray paint and use the stencil on some of my larger caches and see if that, but I need to buy some of those little stickers that I had some and I've used them all, those are kind of handy. Do you have any of those little geocache stickers?
Yeah, I do. I've have those, and now on like regular size and larger, I try to make sure they have something on it. If it's not like one of those logs or something that's made to look like a cache, but if it's I'm not a big fan of like the Tupperware with duct tape on it.
Yeah, I don't do that.
It ends up being and then I'm not a big fan of the PVC caches at all.
No,
like pipe bombs,
no,
but
none of that.
All the stealth in the world is not going to help you if your cache looks like a bomb.
No, yeah, I haven't used duct tape in forever. And also I don't use PVC unless, I don't ever use PVC, but I can see where you could use it safely. You just have to be careful.
Well, don't put it under a bridge. I found them there.
Right. Yeah, don't do that.
And The Force Awakens mentions, and that's tell local law enforcement about it. That is good to let your local, if wherever you live, if you're a cacher in that area, make sure that your local law enforcement does know about geocaching.
Yep.
It's helpful to them. Give them your name and phone number, whatever you want to do, if you want to be the liaison for it or whatever.
Right.
Ours know about it, and they even have a cache on the property with full permission. One of our local cachers has a cache on the police department property, so they're fully aware of it. Even the bomb squad is. They have an account so they can look it up.
Right.
However, that doesn't work 100%, right? Like if you show up in an area, you get a weird call, and the one we're talking about, it wasn't where it was supposed to be, so nothing would help, and it looked like it was a PVC pipe.
Right.
They still have to be safe because people could still put a bomb where a geocache is supposed to be,
Exactly.
That book writes itself. That's a murder mystery book already, right?
Exactly.
So they were doing it just to reinforce, knew somebody that also knew about it, so that's why they did it. But yeah, absolutely. It's very smart to local police or fire to have a contact with them.
Absolutely.
To know what's going on. And as a matter of fact, if you have a bomb squad in your area, they'll probably show up at an event and tell you, this is what we would blow that up.
Yeah. This one would, I think
they
that's
have a PR person, so they'll tell you.
Right. Which nowadays, most of the time I just leave them clear so you can see what's in them. So,
yeah.
But
Ryan had done that, and that's how they knew to call him on his situation.
Yeah, exactly. That was good. Yeah. Brenda mentions about stickers are easier than stencil. I would agree. I'm going to try using the stencil some. Owen mentions that you have to take some practice because the paint will bleed.
Yeah.
So I agree. You have to kind of use it carefully to get that paint on there correctly. So,
well, and you know what? Since we're talking about stealth, we might as well talk about the opposite of stealth too, right?
Yep.
You can't do the negative ones in the filters, but if you have those situations where you've talked to the land manager, it's out in the open or whatever else,
right?
You don't have to use stealth. That's a good thing to mention on your cache page, right? Like you do not have to be stealthy at this cache.
Yeah.
So don't look suspicious for no reason. Everybody knows it's there. It's locked up. It's safe. That's a good feeling to have too. Or, I know this is hard to imagine, but like if you actually get permission to put something somewhere,
right?
I'll put that on the cache page a lot of times. Like this is done with full permission. However, still try to be careful because of muggles or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'd have to go back and look. One of my recent ones where I put it out at the Cotton Museum. I don't think I put on there being stealthy. You can't really be stealthy,
right?
It's a birdhouse in the parking lot next to the museum,
right?
Placed with permission. Although, for another show, is the fact that the thing's been damaged twice, so now I got to fix it again.
Yeah, that's the downside of very gadget caches, right? Yeah,
yeah, that and gadget caches because I don't know how to educate cachers about gadget caches and the fact that that's for another show where they'd rather break your cache and sign the log than they would to just come back some other time and try to figure out how to get into it properly.
Right. Well, that brings up a good question, right? Stealth on a gadget cache. Gadget caches are generally, not always, obviously, right? But a lot of times they're not hard to find. They're just hard to get into.
Right.
So they're wide out in the open, but should you still use stealth even with those?
I think that I think to an extent, I would think you need to be somewhat stealthy. You don't need to be noisy, or unless you're with a group that's going to be noisy, you're not going to be much.
Right.
But yeah, of course, you and I at the one, there was nobody around. We're out there filming stuff and
Yeah, there's nothing going on there.
cutting up and carrying on, but there wasn't anybody around, so I don't think we had any problem not being stealthy.
Yeah. All in all, stealth is one of those things. I think it's very individual. You don't want to draw attention to a cache that's not yours and that could get damaged. But you also don't want to take it overboard, right?
Yeah.
And there's no reason if you get called out on it to lie.
Right.
I'd rather just tell the truth.
Jinxer brings up, what do you think about front yard caches?
That's a whole different story. So having said that, stealth is not what I would do on a front door cache because
A front yard.
I don't look like a front yard cache. I don't want to look like I'm sneaking around on a front yard. That just looks guilty. Like if it's a homeowner's property,
right?
And I don't want to get off on a side tangent. I love front yard caches, and I've mentioned it before. Automatic favorite point. If somebody is that dedicated to the game, they're going to put one in their front yard. That's a favorite point. It'd have to be a pretty bad cache in their front yard, and I'm sure they exist, for me not to give them a favorite point because that's a dedicated person to the game, right? That's privacy and everything else.
By the way, it's no longer a front yard.
Right, it's now yard.
Private
the last thing that I think is a good idea is day or night to be sneaking around somebody's residence.
Yep.
Couple of things. One, even if you're at the right house, which I have made that mistake before, been at the wrong place. It was the next door.
Right.
Even if you are, it looks bad to be sneaking around somebody's property, like their house and their residence, side yard, front yard, anything else.
Yep.
I think if you need to use stealth in that situation, that's probably not the best place to put one. Or have it so locked down and so obvious that you don't have to worry about it, right?
Right.
Just don't sneak around somebody's house. That's just, I don't know where you come from, but I know where you come from. You're in Texas. Don't sneak around somebody's house in Texas.
You can get shot.
You'll get lead poisoning.
Yeah.
So don't do that. I mean, stealth to a degree, right? Like if you're super sneaky in a situation, stealth can work against you. You're suspicious. Sometimes that's a bad way to go. So stealth is one of those things you have to use common sense. Use stealth so that people don't damage a cache, but don't use so much stealth that you're bringing a bad name to the game.
Right. Yep. Cool. Yep. Comments very similar to that.
Most yard caches say no night cache in the description. Right. I have seen that on most of them, but I wonder if they all do.
Right. They don't have to. If you let people come to your front yard and now I'd make it a premium cache, wouldn't you?
Well, I can't answer that question because I don't have one in my front yard.
But if you were to have one,
I've always really wanted one, but I also don't want people. I think
if I did one, I would at least make a premium so that the only people that can see it are people who have at least spent a little bit of money on the game.
Yeah, I've never actually made a premium cache, but that may be the first one that I would do. Although at the same time, I would have like lights shining on it at the very end of my property and have like all the pictures you can imagine. Like this is the address, this is the cache you're going for.
Yeah.
Don't go any further. Don't come knocking. Don't go in my backyard. Don't it? So probably not have a front yard cache, a yard cache. I probably will not have one.
Probably not have one. Yeah. Well, I don't own the place we live, so I first have to get permission from the people that own it. So
could there be a front yard earth cache that's a night cache?
Yes.
That's a tricky one.
The answer to that is yes. Try to get that approved.
Yeah.
Where we say it's the we'll get into tonight with the electrical pole that's tilted. You can make that into an earth cache.
Yeah, any kind of geological thing. Many of those things can happen, right?
I gotta do that next because I feel like I'm not going to get anything ever approved lately for earth caches in Hunt County, Texas. So
we may have to do another earth cache show coming up because there's been a lot of activity behind it, and you may have another one soon. So you may get your earth cache master thing or whatever it is.
It's in the queue, so we're just waiting. So All right, cool. Final thought.
So stealth is one of those tricky things. And it's also dependent, when you're frustrated, you're a lot less stealthy than you are normally.
Yeah.
On a GeoArt trail, there's no stealth required. And sometimes that's kind of freeing when you're out away from town in the mountains. Sometimes if you're really far out, there's no stealth needed. It's a different kind of caching than urban caching, right? And typically when you think of stealth, you think of more urban caching.
Right.
Also fun, but I think stealth has to be kept in that common sense realm. You can do all the neat stuff, have a kid, a dog, and a hat and all that other stuff, and a truck with lights on it or whatever if you want to do. But at some point, that's far enough.
Yeah.
Go a certain distance and try to be, courteous and to the cache owner and not get their cache muggled. But don't go so far as that you're making yourself look more suspicious than if you just walked up and grabbed it right off in the first place.
No, that's good. Good thought. Yeah. I think it was a good discussion. Everybody take your time. Be thoughtful when you're caching or putting out a cache. Both. Give it some thought before you put out a cache, or search for a cache. You need to give it some thought.
I think that's the other thing, right? That we really didn't touch on too much tonight, but the cache owner part is really important. Yeah. Think about stealth as a cache owner. If you're doing I love this. One of my favorite ones to find is like the super hard urban caches to find.
Right.
Like, if I'm in a town and I find one that's like a 5 difficulty, like traditional. Yeah. I go straight to that one. That's one of even over favorite point caches.
Right.
However, it needs to be an area where you don't feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. If
you're going to spend a lot of time there, think about the stealth aspect of it and say, like, you can spend as much time as you want here because everybody around here knows what you're doing.
Yes.
Then I'll stay all day there trying to figure it out,
Right.
Exactly. But think about that as the cache owner. What kind of stealth is going to be required, or what kind of stealth do you expect? Don't expect somebody to be super stealthy if you don't put them in a situation where they can.
Yep.
So it goes both ways.
It does. Very good. All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Let's do the outro.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight, as well as our new format. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.
There we go. Good night, everybody.
Good night.